Hi friends, in this video I'd like to talk about communication as a critical leadership competency. First thing first, I find an increasing number of organizations asking us to coach their leaders on communicating effectively. One might wonder, what can a coach do to help someone communicate effectively? Is it about making a great presentation? Is it about writing good emails? Is it about public speaking? What is it? There is certainly a space for good work that coaches can do in communication, but first we need to understand this much better. Uh, Communication is becoming very critical for certain very social cultural reasons. One, we live in a world where everyone has very short attention spans. So the window of attention available to anyone to communicate effectively is very short. We all recognize we also live in an increasingly touchy world where anyone can feel offended very soon. So means there is a heightened need of using responsible semantics in the way we communicate. Finally, uh, leaders can no longer use the hierarchy to get things done. They are increasingly asked to go and sell their ideas to win approval and win support and not rely on the hierarchy, which means communication becomes even more critical. That's why communication is important. Now, there is a certain amount of confusion about what we really expect from leaders when we say you need to communicate effectively. And to a large extent, that onus lies on the recipient. For example, people might say that, storytelling is very important. You need to tell a story. And therefore, people will go and enroll in some storytelling program and so on. Now, if someone tells stories, we will say, hey, he's just giving me some stories, spinning some yarn. I want you to be able to come to the point and be factual. If the person is very factual, we would say that you're not very inspirational. Um, we might also say that, look, he doesn't have the executive presence to be able to carry his weight in a senior forum. So we use a lot of loose terms which can confuse people and they can run helter skelter trying to find some medicines for storytelling and presence and this, that, and the other. And that adds to the confusion about what effective communication really is. Also, it is clear that effective communication is not about my knowledge. Effective communication is seldom about my ability to speak good English. Effective communication is also not about making a great presentation. And finally, effective communication is not about me. It's about others and it's about the context. So, to be contextually intelligent to understand what is expected of me in this context is a starting point for effective communication. Having said that, if you were to look at what coaches can do, there are really three things that coaches can do as far as helping someone on communication is concerned. The way I articulate and communicate is really what is evident behaviorally. But if you were to look below the iceberg, there are three things that are evident. First, what is my conceptual dexterity? How do I conceptually receive and process information in my mind? Will, to a large extent, determine my ability to communicate. Am I someone who takes a bird's eye view or someone who takes a snail's eye view? Does this situation demand that I take a bird's eye view or demand that I take a snail's eye view? If the situation requires the need to take a bird's eye view and I get into details, it can upset people. Sometimes situations may call for me to connect the dots and look at the whole picture, call for synthesis. Sometimes a situation may call for analysis. Now, if I am in a situation where I get into excessive analysis when people want me to connect the dots and look at the larger association, my communication can go wrong. And finally, sometimes I may need to deal with the definitives, and sometimes I may need to be comfortable with the ambiguous. So, my communication effectiveness is determined by my own preferences in terms of how I process information and how others would like me to process information. That's one layer. And a coach can help me become aware of my own preferences and how those preferences play out in an interpersonal situation and what I need to learn in order to balance my own preferences. The second and perhaps most critical dimension is my own emotional intelligence, and that has a significant role to play in how I end up being perceived in my communication. What is my sense of worth in an interpersonal situation, and how does that impact the quality of my communication? What is my emotional awareness about my own emotions and what is happening to me as I'm engaging with you? What is the quality of my ability to express my emotions in a responsible manner without causing harm or hurt to others? What is my ability to be empathetic, cognitively and emotively, to understand and see things from others' point of view, to connect with others' emotions, to be appreciative, to be understanding? What is my ability to be assertive without being seen as overbearing? What is my ability to see the reality the way it is? What is my ability to be emotionally well regulated in a stressful situation? uh, what is my ability to be flexibility? All of these aspects of my emotional intelligence can impact the quality of my communication. Therefore, a coach can help me become aware of my own emotional intelligence and see what aspects of emotional intelligence are impacting the quality of my communication. And finally, the last layer is to do with my personal truths, things I believe to be true. My personal truths can impact my emotional intelligence and can therefore impact how I process information and how I finally end up being seen as communicating. For example, I might believe that it is important to be humble, and therefore my humility can interfere with my sense of regard and therefore how I articulate things. I may believe that my knowledge is important and therefore may be self absorbed and forget what others are saying. So, my own personal truths can have a huge impact, and the coach can help me become aware of my personal truths and what modifications I need to make so that they do not interfere with my ability to communicate effectively. So, beyond what we see behaviorally in terms of communication, it is impacted by conceptual dexterity and my preferences in that direction, my emotional intelligence, and my personal truths. And these are three important layers that coaches can work with so that individuals can end up communicating effectively. Sure, I can attend a program on how to speak in public. Sure, I can attend a program on storytelling. I can become a member of some public speaking forum and so on and so forth. But those are not going to address the more intrinsic drivers of effective communication. Thank you.